It's been pretty interesting. It's in the morning here, Saturday morning, and my wife is out of town. And I decided to, while I was in Vegas, to give up smoking weed and drinking. Well, that didn't last very long. I think I'm going to give it up while playing. This whole week, all I've played is online. I'm up a good amount. Having a good week. I'm up like $4 or $5 grand this week. I think 4,000 this week. Just playing online. Tonight, the WSOP has a $50 satellite, no limit hold'em tournament, 10 seats. Get a seat into the WSOP main for $50. That means they're expecting a $50,000 prize pool. I don't think so. Are they going to have 1,000 people in this tournament? I doubt it. It's December 17th, y'all. There's no way. Maybe there's rebuys and add-ons. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely firing. And I'm firing several bullets. I'm going to play super loose in the beginning. Tighten up. It's a Saturday, so all you got to do is finish top 10. Starts at 4:30. I'm pretty much planning my day around it. The club that I belong to, the action's just been unreal lately. And almost all of it's been Big O. So if you're looking for a place to play Big O, definitely the club I belong to is something to take a look at. Speaking of which, here's an ad from our sponsor and the club that I belong to. Are you looking for a place to play some online pot limit Omaha? Well, I have the place just for you. Donkfish and myself both belong to a club called The Madhouse. And let me tell you about this little place. It has PLO 4, PLO 5, PLO 6, PLO 4, 5 high-low, and PLO 6 high-low. Not only that, but right now, the Madhouse is doing a crazy, crazy special. If you join and you're a new player at the Madhouse and you join the Madhouse and you order a hoodie, which is going to cost you about $40 to $50, the managers are going to give you $100 in your account. That's right. That's a good special that they're running right now. Not only that, but when you bring a friend that joins the Madhouse, you're going to get $50 and they're going to get $50. Oh my God. This is like a Christmas miracle that's happened. If you're looking for a good, reliable place to play online poker and you want to play with myself, you want to play with Donkfish, plus a bunch of whales and a couple of pretty good players as well, join the Madhouse. PP Poker, Club ID 1810023, where the only thing that's crazier than the chat is the action. Chip Storm every Monday. I don't understand why people would want to play PLO anywhere else. Deep stack, so 500 big blinds on the 1-2 PLO 4. WPT main is going on. They have a $2.4 billion overlay. Kudos for the WPT for not backing off their overlay like MGM did. MGM Grand. I actually had a couple of players and students, a couple of friends say, hey, I'm going to go fire this $250K guarantee, $600 buy-in at MGM in Vegas, to which I responded, hey, if you've seen any of the news on X, they all cut all their guarantees in half because they didn't have enough people show up. MGM Grand, if you want more people to show up, treat your poker players like they're VIPs. Don't put them in the middle of the fucking casino surrounded by slot machines. This is like basic 101 shit. Put them in a convention room where people can't walk by with cigarettes and smoking and all the loud noise. I mean, this is basic 101 stuff. Everybody makes mistakes. I do give bad props out to the poker room manager who quit right after they cut all their guarantees in half, because there were a lot of PLO players who like the MGM mystery bounties and the PLO guarantees. I think those are amazing. This week has just been one of those weeks where I'm like, again, why did I go to Vegas? It's good to recover, though, like to buckle down, have some good sessions, to really, really focus and recover. A whole week pissed away. But that is the life of a grinder. So, like a lot of vloggers, I know you guys are curious, where are you at, Professor? But this year was not as good as last year. Let's just say last year was a lot more profitable. This year, I will say, though, I probably made 20% of my income off of coaching. That's been the biggest I've made off of coaching as far as a percentage of my income ever. So My students, appreciate every single one of you guys. And one of the things that makes me happy as a person is when somebody does take my coaching and I see them improve. I see their games improve. I usually see their games improve pretty immediately. When I say pretty immediately, like usually within the first like 5 sessions, they'll end up having 3 or 4 winning sessions. And maybe they just hear my voice in the back of their head while they're playing, talking about don't play this way, don't play that way. I was watching a guy called Carrot Corner. He's a guy, I'll go ahead and tag him down below. I think I mentioned him before when I was talking about standard deviations and bankrolls and stuff like that. But in any case, Carrot Corner is a really interesting poker coach, I think out of Ireland or Scotland. I was watching Carrot Corner last night while I was playing, while I was stoned, while I was drinking, because my wife's out of town. By the way, I played for like, I don't know, 8 hours last night, and I think I won like $150. Probably because there was a few times where I just decided to go for it when I shouldn't have, because I was drinking and smoking. I don't know. Carrot Corner is talking about when you coach people, the first thing you need to do is diagnose their leaks. And that is usually one of the things that I do. What's funny is how I diagnose those leaks, because Carrot Corner uses online HUDs and stuff like that. So he's really working with people on like 6 max 50 NL. This is what the video is about, or 6 max 100 NL, stuff like that. One of my students this week who specializes in Big O, who also had another coach that coaches very different than I do, which is fine. I have a lot of respect for the other person. His weakness or his leak is he's not aggro enough. And I'll give you a perfect example. And if you're watching this video, don't forget I love you. Hopefully you're okay with me using this as an example. But he has ace, 5-5, double suited with another card. I can't remember if it's a low card or not. He's in the small blind and the big blind. And it's raised to him by a really aggressive player. He tells me the player that raised against him is super aggro, and he has ace 5-5 X double suited, small blind or the big blind, and he doesn't 3-bet. And before I even look at the end of the hand, I'm like, you don't 3-bet. And then he check calls the flop, and the flop's like 7-7 X. It's like 7-7-9. So pretty favorable flop for aces, double suited. I mean, the only thing you're losing to is a Dag League 7. And for somebody to raise, whether they're in position or not, in Big O, they shouldn't have a whole lot of 7s. So they have a lot of ace deuce, ace 3 combos. You know, maybe they have like ace king 3. So you can pretty much eliminate 3 out of their 5 cards as not being a 7. This is how we put people on ranges in Big O, by the way, in case you're ever curious. How the fuck do you put people on ranges in 5-card and 5-card high-low? He tells me the player's tendency is to be super aggro. But what happens is the flop 7-7X, and it was a straddled pot too. So 2-5-10, guy opens up to, I think, 35 or 37. And 7-7X, he checks, aggro player bets pot, he calls. Turn card, doesn't change anything. But he checks, and the guy pots it again for like 200, and he calls. And I say to him, my biggest problem in this hand is you have no idea where you're at. You know you're up against a super aggro player. So when you're up against a super aggro player, you could be checking to do a bluff catch, but if you 3-bet pre-flop, you could get more value, especially if the person has like king ace deuce or king ace 4 or queen ace 4, because on a flop like 7-7 jack, they're going to continue a lot of times. The river comes and he checks again with aces, and the guy bets a third pot. So I think it was like 150 into 400. Maybe it was like 190 into 400, somewhere around there. And he ends up calling, and I love the call on the river, because obviously if the person is really aggro, they're not going to have a 7 very often. They're going to be bluffing. However, the tell on the river is the river bet. If somebody has a 7 there and you've called them down twice, a lot of times they're going to go for max value. They're going to bet pot. At least if you're up against me and I put you on aces, or if I put you on an overpair, I'm going to bet pot. But when you bet a third pot, it really clearly demonstrates that most likely they're on a bluff, or they have some value. Like I think the guy had top pair with an ace kicker or something like that. But so I have students who aren't aggressive enough, and that's particularly why they hire me as a coach, because they're like, I know I'm missing out on value. I just don't know where I'm missing out. And then I have other students that'll hire me, for example, that are almost exclusive online players. And first of all, the reason why I'm telling you this whole story is because when they give you a HUD, it's easy to tell. And I'm not criticizing Carrot Corner. First of all, the guy is sound. If you don't watch him now, you guys should subscribe to his channel. He's pretty good. He gives a lot of advice, very much like coaching advice, very similar to me, obviously not with a doobie in his hand or anything like that. And honestly, I'd love to meet the guy because I have a lot of respect for him. But I know, like from coach to coach, it's a little easier to get a HUD. So I have another student who gives me a HUD, and I overlook it, and I say, all right, here's what you're doing. You know, you're not 3-betting enough pre-flop. But when it comes to live players, so when you're given a HUD, it's a little bit easier to diagnose a player or like a history of hands. When it comes to live players, this is the funniest thing, and this is part of the point of this story, is I'll ask them, what are your 3 biggest leaks? That's what I'll ask them. What are your 3 biggest leaks? Here I am diagnosing them, and what they say all the time is they usually tell me what their 3 biggest leaks are. But I think the most common thing that I run into with my students as one of their biggest leaks is they're not aggressive enough. I think because they see my videos and they know how aggressive I am, they're like, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy where I sit down at the table and people get a little intimidated, or people are like, buckle up, Buttercup, the fucking game just changed from 1-3 to here we fucking go. Not only do you want to be that guy, you want to be that guy and be profitable. Because you can certainly be that guy and just fucking pump money. And trust me, when I started this channel, a lot of people were like, you should change your name to PLO Punter. You're getting it all in for $1,000 with 5-5-7-7 double suited against those hands. Yeah, with 36% equity. So I had a lot of haters. Plus I had a lot of haters who were like, PLO has just way more variance. You're fucking crazy. And again, if you watch Carrot Corner, and he even does a whole video on variance, which is kind of interesting, you find out that PLO doesn't really have that much more variance than No Limit Hold'em. It has a little bit more, but on a standard deviation, it's like between 100 and 140, where No Limit Hold'em is between 75 and 120. So they're within the realm of the same standard deviation. Yeah, I'm really fucking stoked right now. It's raining. It's Saturday. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. All I'm going to do is play poker all day, not work on the garage. The card gods have decided you should always get your moment of zen in before you're going to have a day of poker. I preach to my students to practice yoga and meditation every morning before a tournament. I just realized I did it. I only did that once while I was in Vegas. I got up in the morning. Donkfish was sleeping in my room. Whenever I'm on a poker trip, I always get up super ass early. Oh, speaking of which, I was in Vegas last week, and people always have crazy stories about me. So I'm going to tell you this story that's pretty fucking crazy, that this guy recognized me at Caesars this past week. So I'm playing at Caesars, and Flounder, who's my brother, walks over to the table during the tournament. It was a $500 08 tournament, and we've been playing for roughly about an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours. So I think Flounder at this point needs to stretch his legs because he's super tall. So he just walks over and stands there and he's stretching. And while he's stretching, this guy says, I know where I recognize you from. He goes, and I don't recognize you from your face. I recognize you from your voice because you have a very distinctive voice. I have a story about you. I don't know if you want me to tell it because it's a little embarrassing. Now, when he says it's a little embarrassing, what goes through my mind is about 12 different stories that are a little embarrassing. And I said, go ahead and tell it. He goes, it was June of 2022. The minute he said the month, I knew exactly what story he was talking about. I just start dying laughing. My brother, Flounder, is like, what the hell? This is a story I haven't heard about my brother. So this is this night where I lost a $25,000 pot. I was playing 1025 PLO in the King's Lounge. I bid the straddle for 50. I have ace, 4-5, double suited. First player limps, second player makes it 250. 3 people call the 250. I decide to repot it to like 1800 It goes fold. The initial raiser, he decides to call. The next guy goes all in for like 2,100. The next guy's all in for like 2,000. Of course, I call and complete. So we got $8,000 in the main pot. Or four-way action. 2 players all in the main. 2 players still live for the side. And the flop comes 10 Jack 4 with 2 diamonds. So I go all in for $9,000. The gentleman calls. We agree to run the side pot twice because it's a rather large pot. He turns over 10 Jack XX, and the run out goes Queen of Clubs, 6 of Spades, and then the second run out is Queen of Spades, 6 of Clubs, and he ends up scooping. So I lose this $25,000 pot, and so I decide to get up from that game. And I say, you know what? I'm going to go play 5100 OE. It's a grinder's game. It's a game where you can make $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 a night. You can even make 10 grand if you really go on a heater. And I just lost a $25,000 pot. I really don't feel like buying into 1025 PLO again, because right now, if I do, I'm going to buy in for like 2,000 to 4,000, and I'm going to be extra splashy because now I'm super stuck. So instead, I make the right decision and I go play a limit game. Now, I am by far gonna get really fucked up because I just lost the biggest cash pot of my life. So I am going to get blitzed. I have with me a whole Ziploc bag of edibles. And I just say, fuck it. And I grab a handful and just blah, 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 blah. Seriously. And I start ordering fucking drinks left and right. One after the other after the other. This is by far the top 3 of stoned and drunk of my life. Probably the number 1 most stoned and drunk at the same time. Definitely top 3 for being the most stoned. And I'm playing 5100 OE, Omaha 8, and I am fucking crushing it. I am the drunk stoned guy. I am slurring my words, and I'm just fucking owning the whole table. My whole complexion turns white because I realize I'm going to throw up. That's how fucked up I am, people. I am on a full fucking bender professor style. Luckily, in the King's Lounge at 3:30 in the morning, there's a big fucking trash can in the corner because the janitor was cleaning up the King's Lounge. It's right next to the fucking table. So I return over while I'm in my fancy seat, reach over, grab the fucking trash can and go, Wah! And I throw up 4 or 5 times in the trash can. I push it back to the corner, wipe my mouth off, and look at the table and say, we're still going, aren't we? And then I continue to fucking crush it as the super drunk stone guy. About 15 minutes later, the security guy walks over and he's like, is there someone here who threw up in the trash can? Because I got to kick that guy out. Now, meanwhile, the whole table knows I'm super fucked and I'm crushing the table. So they're like, not saying anything. They're like, don't let the fucking drunk guy leave. You know, if he leaves right now, all he's going to do is lock in a win. No one says anything. Security guy walks away. I play like another 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. I went to bed at like 8 o'clock that morning and just fucking crushed it. So I call my wife the next day and I say, hey, I got good news and bad news. And she goes, what's the bad news? And I said, I lost the biggest cash pot of my life, over $25,000. You can imagine that there's a little bit of a quiet, like, what? You lost a car and a pot? And she goes, well, what's the good news? I said, I played 5100 last night and I only ended up losing $3,000 for the night. She goes, oh, that's pretty fucking good. So sometimes you have to do the right thing. The moral of that story, I'm really baked because I can't remember why I was telling you that story. Oh, the moral of the story is it was really funny being at Caesars and having somebody else tell a story of mine that my brother had never heard, because my brother just started dying laughing. He's like, oh my God, I've never heard that story. And he goes, and it is my brother. That sounds like Josh. Yeah. And then I found $20. So, my moment of zen. I hope I'm going to crush it. I feel like I'm in the zone. And, yeah, I think I'm going to go get some eggs from those chickens. Play smart, everybody. Run like a god.